Coming to you live at the GAMA Trade Show at the Peppermill Resort and Casino in Reno, Nevada, Twist Gaming! Now take it away, Matt. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. This is Twist Gaming, and we are coming to you live here from the GAMA Trade Show 2019 with all the board game coverage all week long. And right now we are joined with Olivia and Jim from Aries Games. Folks, how you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing just as well. First and foremost, though, how is GAMA treating you so far?
So far, everything is going very smoothly, so that's all we can ask
Smooth
for.
is good. Smooth is good. I do have to say, you brought quite possibly the biggest thing we've had to the table so far, and it's really cool, too. So what are we showing off today?
So this is UBoat or UBoat, depending on how you would like to pronounce it. UBoat is the proper German pronunciation.
Okay.
So this is a strategic real-time war game where you are commanding a crew on a submarine during World War II while working with a companion app. So here's something that we can show right away. Probably the little screen would be best. So while you are playing the game, you will also be working with this companion app that will be keeping everything in time while also telling you when the crew will switch over, as well as when enemies attack or when certain new objectives need to be reached.
That's cool.
So everybody, it's a 1 to 4 player game.
Okay.
Depending on how you play will also depend on how quickly the game will go. It can go from 30 minutes to an hour and a half.
Okay.
So let's talk about the captain first. So we've got the captain, the first officer, the navigator, and the chief engineer. And so while each of those titles will have their own special qualifications, special abilities, they're also going to be controlling an entire crew as well. That will switch over every 12 hours. Let's see if I'm actually showing it in the...
Zoom in a little bit there.
There you go. So yeah, so you'll have little icons on your command strip right here that will tell you what they specialize at. And depending on what the captain wants the crew to do throughout the day, depends on who's going to go where within the 3D model that we have right here.
Awesome. So this, you said real time.
Yes.
So that's based off of the app itself. That's controlling all the timing of it. So this is competitive, cooperative?
Fully cooperative.
Fully cooperative.
So if you have to have complete, like a communication scheme, that if you do not communicate with the rest of your team and the other crews, then you will sink in the water.
Really cool. So how does this board, is it a board if it's three-dimensional like that? How does the game setup come into play here? How do you utilize this?
So as the game will start, so you'll have a play game button right here. And once you have that, it'll also tell you what kind of missions that you can pick from.
Okay.
So once your game gets started, it pretty much, the moment you hit go, it'll start and your time will start rolling.
So I'm seeing here, this has standalone missions as well as a full-on campaign?
Correct.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, so there's also, it'll kind of be like the level of difficulty as well, depending on the type of mission that you pick. So once the timer starts going and the captain says, okay, it's time for first objective, you will assign within your crew where you want people to go in the boat. And so you've got your command center, you've got where the engineers will be fixing and doing repairs and upgrades, as well as the quartermaster will be cooking food. So they'll be placed just inside the board like here. Up here we've got somebody navigating. And so you'll just place them on the board where you have just been directing them.
So I heard you say before we went live that there's a cooking mini game within this as well?
Yes, on this board right here. So you'll have, I believe I just saw him. This observer right here will show, has a little food icon right there. And that means that they will cook the food. So one of the things that they can be directed to do right away is that they can start making food for the entire crew. The captain will decide later, or it'll show up on the companion app when it's time to serve the food. But the sooner that you cook it, the sooner that it's ready and that you won't lose any morale or health.
So pretty detailed then if we're getting into the minutiae, if you will, of cooking for the entire crew as well.
So there are going to be some little tokens in there, but I'll show you where it'll be on the board. Right here is the little cooking game where you'll set out the ingredients, and then as you'll also have like certain recipes to pick from. And so depending on what random ingredients you get here depend on the kind of recipes you get to make. And so it also goes into the fact, like, is the food going to spoil? Did you make it too early in the day? Or has the ingredients been out too early and after the next day, day 2 or something like that, the food will go bad. We have to go through it again. Are we going to run out of food?
So take me through some of the other responsibilities for some of these roles here, for the different things that the players are going to be doing.
So this is the navigator. I said this was the captain, so I apologize for that. So the navigator, as you would assume, would do all of the navigation. He is going to be searching through a lot of the coordinates that go into play. And this is when it gets even more so heavy with the strategic and tactical side. So with the companion app, it will ask you to set the coordinates for the next location that you need to go to. And how you will do that is also through this little sheet right here that has all of the numbers of everywhere you need to go. So let's say we are at location, a little blurry, but location 41, and we need to go up here to location 92. So what the navigator will do is he will discover the best way to get to that, and he will put the coordinates into the companion app, and it will decide like how long that's going to take within the time of the game. And he will also set people out on top of the deck here to see if on the way, if any enemies are going to hit. The more people you have on top, the more likely that you will be able to catch somebody before they arrive.
Okay. So I'm seeing a lot of other additional components here. It looks like we've got a compass down there too.
Yep.
So that's getting your bearings and everything for the game. Enigma code sheet. So talk to me about this. So we're getting more in depth here.
Yes, so yeah, this will be also part of the navigator as well. Everything that you can see on the code sheet will be also filled in for the companion app. So this will also kind of help with navigation and being more precise with where you're going and how you're going to protect the submarine and everybody on the crew. This identification sheet also will do that as well. This will help you be able to identify what kind of enemies are coming.
So when we say this is much more of a simulation, it's highly detailed, obviously. Each person, as Olivia's been saying, is very much responsible for their lane. Everyone needs to stay into their lane and do their job to a very high degree. So if the captain is giving great orders and making good decisions and delegating properly, but the navigator gets everyone lost, then the whole ship is in peril.
Right.
Likewise, if the torpedo men can't do their job, well, now we've got a problem there. So in a 4-player game where everyone's dealing with a very specific aspect of the ship, you're really relying on the other 3 people on your team to do their job at a very high level and make good decisions, because you may think, well, look, we need to have more people up in the torpedo room, but that's not your role, so you're not making that decision, and you find out later the person responsible for that didn't put anyone there. Well, now we've got someone on the horizon and no torpedo man in the proper position. Well, now we've lost an opportunity. So as everyone's taking the information, making their own decisions, you're working together as a team, but you have to make decisions that you think are best. So you may be getting a lot of really good advice about what to do with your crew and how to assign them duties, but at the end of the day, it's your responsibility to make a good decision for the benefit of everyone on the submarine.
So remind me again, how many players does this game support?
1 to 4.
1 to 4. Okay, so there is a solo variant, if you will.
Absolutely.
You just have to, I'm assuming, take over more roles of the ship then.
Exactly.
Something that the companion app does that I really like is that you also get to control how fast-paced it's going to be.
Okay.
So the time will always be ticking on, but you can do it at normal speed, ×2 or ×3.
So it increases difficulty too, I'm assuming?
Kind of. In a way, let's say that we've laid out everybody that we want to lay out. We've put them all on the boat where we think that it would be most beneficial for us. And then, but we've done everything we've needed to do. Let's say we've cooked everything that we needed. We've been searching, fixing the torpedoes, but then nothing's happening. No one has come up to our ship. It's not time for lunch yet. Nothing has happened. So you can fast forward the game until the next event happens, until the crew shifts over or the captain decides it's time to eat. Something like that.
Very cool. This is a lot in the box there. So,
It is, yes.
what is the price point on this game?
The price point on this is going to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's going to be about $95.
Sounds right.
That sounds, yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in the box, so that
Yes.
makes sense. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then anything else that you wanted to talk about UBoat before we jump into the other game that you brought to us today?
One of the things that is probably worth mentioning is you're seeing maybe a third of all the components that we have
Really?
laid out here. Yeah, so
Jeez.
there's the cards that help drive this as well. There's the navigation charts. There's every different player has their own player board that helps them plan their turn, as well as the board that plans the entire ship's movement and what's going on there. So as we see it here, it's a very detailed game in regard to what it's representing. The reward of something like that is you get a really big payoff. You get a really rich payoff when you're actually managing all these different moving pieces. Everything's coming together. You're actually not only sinking ships, which is the goal of the game, is to sink the Allied shipping, but then avoiding destroyers and trying to escape once you've actually made your kill. So all those are represented in here.
Very cool. So, given that this is a campaign game as well, how much content are we looking at here? How many sessions is the campaign, and then what's the average play time of those sessions?
So I can answer for the time. Like I said earlier, it kind of depends on how you play, and
Right,
also
right.
it depends on if you've prepared enough. Because if you get shot out of the water, game's done, and it ends. Sorry, repeat your other question.
How
then with the
many
campa-
individual missions are there in the campaign?
Yeah, that also will depend. If you have the three that are shown on the app right there, but also the single missions that are shown here can also add on and on with the linked missions.
Okay.
So highly variable and highly replayable, just depending on the order that you get, how long it takes for the different ships to appear, what type of ships appear, how long it takes you to sink them, what kind of escort they might have with them. Are they, as you can see right here, sometimes we've got coastal vessels, and sometimes we've got the illustrious aircraft carrier. So depending on what you encounter is going to make the game highly, highly variable from session to session.
Right, and then also playing as the different roles too, I'm assuming. One time you can be
Yes.
playing as one of the roles, you decide to switch it up and go to a different one, it's a completely different experience for you.
And you're going to get a very different experience. I mean, certain human beings are going to be more disposed to be the navigator or to be the first officer, be the engineer. However, when you're put into a role that maybe you're not comfortable with because of your play style or the types of tasks that you're good at, gives you a brand new experience and opportunity to flex some different kind of mental muscle.
Very cool. And where can our viewers go to find more information about UBoat?
So UBoat we have information on the Ares Games website, aresgames.eu. This game is actually created by Phalanx, so Phalanx has their own website as well, so you can get information there, and should be available in retail stores, if not by the time people see this, very shortly thereafter.
Right around the corner then.
Right around the corner, yeah. This
Fantastic.
This is some of the pre-production pieces that we've got here, but this is all what everyone will see, coffee stains included on our code sheets. So,
Very good. So what else did you bring to the table today?
Today we also brought brides and bribes, which we will bring out right now.
I'll let you kind of set this up while
All
I
right, yeah, no problem.
slide this over.
So Brides and Bribes is one of our newest games from one of our newest partners, Space Balloon Games. And so we were able to get this from the warehouse, luckily, for Dice Tower. That was last week.
Oh, nice.
So this is another strategy game, not as heavy duty, but about the same play time. So about, I believe it was about 40 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
So what this game is that you are a nobleman within Genoa, and you have a couple of your family members under your employ because you are trying to become the most powerful doge in the area against the other people.
Okay.
And for people who don't know their Renaissance history, Doge and Genoa, obviously we're talking about a Renaissance era game where you're
Right.
trying to.
I'm not too familiar with the terminology. Doge, when I first hear it, I think of the meme. But, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Renaissance Italy is
Gotcha.
the time frame.
And then here I'll show a little bit of the board. There we go. Just to give a little bit of an idea. And we can put my phone away because this one will not require a companion app. So this is 2 to 5 players, and so kind of the more people that you have, the smoother the game will kind of flow. You are, like I mentioned, you are a nobleman, but the way that you're trying to gain influence and become a doge is through scheming and hiring skilled workers. The family members that are under your employ are also trying to go out every turn and get more skilled workers to try to help you gain influence. At the same time, during these rounds, you are also trying to convince local lords that you are worthy enough to marry their beautiful daughters.
Of course.
And it's being a period piece, you have the option to marry multiple women at once. And depending on the women that you have, depending on their stance and who their father is, depends on how much influence that will get you within the community.
Makes sense.
So you'll have also these little pieces, these little carts here, depending on what color you are within the game. This will how you'll track your movement about where you're going, if you're buying certain supplies like poison or anything like that, because it is an option to poison your enemies if they're getting a little too powerful for you. You're not happy where they're going within the game.
You got to slip them a little bit of poison.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you got to strike a little fear within everybody. And you'll also all of the employees that you'll gather outside of your family that the family is hiring will also be shown in these little meeple figurines that you'll gather around your little board area, which will be these displays right here.
All right. So talk to me a little bit about the play style of this game.
So it is, like I mentioned, mostly strategic. So people will be going around in turns. They will have, it shows a little bit right here. It's a bit cut off just due to space. But you'll go down the turn order depending on where you are compared to the other people, depending on who's going to be able to go to the work employment and gather employees first, who's going to be able to do that or get the certain ingredients that they need or the cash that they need to start also doing the other part of this game, which is bribery.
Of course.
So you can see here we've got some worker placement elements. We've got some strategic decision-making elements. We are at the end of the day placing meeples to try to execute our plan. A lot of tactical decision making. You need to have a plan going in. It's very important to know, okay, here's my general idea for how I'm going to become the Doge. However, by the end of the first turn, you might need to change that depending on the types of things that you have access to and the types of activities that you can perform. Your initial plan might need to be evaluated very heavily, and you may find that by the end of the second turn, you've got a third plan that you need to come up with. So you need to be very flexible and need to be very active in terms of thinking about what the other players are doing and try to decipher their plans. You need to be able to recover because, as Olivia says, not only are you building up, but your opponents are taking you down as well. So you're marrying someone, well, one of your opponents may poison her. And suddenly you lose your wife and lose her influence and lose her connection and lose her that. So suddenly, well, wait a second. Now what I do? She was kind
Back
of a
to square
linchpin of my
one.
exactly. So you want to be sure that you're being flexible enough, which is part of the draw of the game, is just that ability to be flexible and to think about new situations, be able to react to them appropriately.
It's not just an exercise in executing one strategy that you set
Exactly.
forth from the beginning.
And
you have to be able to pivot.
Exactly, and it's very interactive because the players are interacting with one another. The things that you do will affect me, and the things that, whether you're doing it to me directly or not, you may start to take down Olivia, and she feels like, well, I need to take him down rather than executing my plan. So suddenly everyone's pulling each other down as opposed to trying to build themselves back up. So some games of this period, which is obviously a very ripe one for games, tends to be a little bit more isolated. You don't have quite as much cooperation or conflict, player interaction. So this is a nice one to have a lot of interaction with the different players.
Very cool. And then the end game goal here is to have the most influence.
Yes, most influence so that you have won the title of Doge.
Gotcha. All right, very cool. So where can our viewers find out about Brides and Bribes?
Brides and Bribes is on the ariesgames.eu website. It's also Space Balloon Games is the studio that created it, so you can find out information from them as well. This just hit the warehouse maybe yesterday, so should be in retail stores within 2 weeks.
Oh, so you're bringing me stuff that's like hot on the shelves right now. This is
New.
awesome.
You're the first one to get it. You're actually
Fantastic.
the first ones to see this stuff. So there we go. All right.
Awesome. Jim, Olivia, thank you so much. Is there anything else from Ares Games that you wanted to talk about today?
Well, Battlestar Galactica, we launched that in the fall. So Battlestar Galactica, the new ship packs are coming out, and so those will be out in about another 30 days. We've got some prototypes here at the GAMA Trade Show to show some people about what those look like. And then we're just finishing up a Kickstarter with Ares Games is working with Galatka on Waste Nights, which is a post-apocalyptic game set in Australia, which is just launched approximately 275,000
Nice.
in fundraise, and like I said, I think it ends in about another hour.
Oh,
And
wow.
So there's still just a little bit of time to get involved with that. I had an opportunity to play test that in Essen. Fabulous game, very thematic, very interesting, and so that'll be coming out more towards the fall. And then Ares catalog for a small company like Ares to look at the types of games we're doing and the types of partners that we have. 2019 is going to be a very exciting year for us. So we've got a ton of stuff that's coming out, including new World War I, tripods and triplanes. After several delays, is finally going to be coming out in another couple of months. We've got some new stuff for World War I. We're going to grow the Battlestar Galactica line. We have just stuff coming from left, right, and center.
Fantastic. You sound like you're pretty busy, is what I'm hearing then.
try
Absolutely.
to, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. And thank all of you for watching at home. Make sure you stay tuned throughout the day here as we continue to bring you coverage from GAMA 2019. Signing off for now, though, I'm Matt. Have a good one, everyone.